I do remember you had like, I saw you look at a story one time that was a girl, and realized she was your ex, and I remember saying something about that, or you had gone out with her, and I remember saying something about that,
Uh-huh.
and I had never really questioned it before, but I remember seeing that. Do you remember this or no?
Where was it?
It was early in dating.
I don't know if I remember.
Okay, well, you had looked at you paused in a story that was a girl that you had dated, and I saw that for whatever reason, and I said that didn't make me feel good.
How did I respond? I don't remember.
You unfollowed her.
Oh, okay.
You're like, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. But before then, I didn't really have a bad inclination with you. I didn't feel anxious because spiritually in my spirit, I didn't feel like
But to clarify, you didn't
it
even
was a
ask me to
threat.
unfollow her, right?
No, I didn't ask.
Right. And you didn't have a, and what's also important, because some people might skip over what happened in that interaction,
Yeah,
you also did not have an emotional blow up
right.
that I stopped and paused and looked at a girl that
No,
I had
I just said,
previously
hey,
gone
it
into.
doesn't make me feel great,
Right.
and you handled it being like, I didn't ask for you to unfollow her. You just did.
Yeah. I think that's not to say that that's the only way they can go down, but I think ideally in that situation, it's really important to give your partner the autonomy and ability to choose whether or not they want to continue following them,
Mm-hmm.
and you've let them know that you're not really thrilled.
Right.
But because I do see tons of situations where that can actually go really south.
Mm-hmm.
People feel like they are um, subjugated to their partner's emotions and feelings and have to act out of that to unfollow.
Right. But I think, man, I think this is a big deal. I'm thinking of one specific relationship because, like, I did mention to this guy a few times, like, hey, that makes me a bit uncomfortable. And there was a lot going on. He was still talking to his ex frequently.
Right.
And also like he'd pause on these girls' stories, and it was just because we'd be sitting together, and I would just like look over and see it. It's not like I was like trying to stalk the things he was looking
Yeah,
at.
totally.
It just happened sometimes, and it would be like a girl wearing not a lot of clothes in her stories, and he'd like pause on it or like be writing back to it, and I'm like, hey, I don't like feel great
Yeah.
about that. And it was like then I would, and I got into my spidey senses sometimes, and I would find out who these girls were, go to their profile, look at the pictures they're posting, and then I was like, okay, I really don't feel good about this.
Yeah. And, I think probably what's important about Kate and I's dynamic and relationship is she actually communicated pretty clearly and not like intimidatingly, like, this happens to me, so it better not happen with us. It was like, hey, I actually have a ton of pain and hurt and disappointment in this area specifically.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, you should know about it. So for me, knowing that information, first of all, I think with Instagram, I would had already been just so convicted and really, really stringent on who am I following and why.
Yeah.
And that was a policy that predated Kate. But especially when I dated Kate, I just think there's just so little room for error here, especially
Yeah.
if you want to be any sort of leader spiritually. Like, why would you ever put out stumbling blocks and landmines in your path with things and images that might potentially trigger a temptation and reaction sexually from yourself?